Marshall here, back here in the Lion's Den, bringing you a little bit of a fun special update. Russian propaganda. This might be the height of the Russian Empire as we see it right now. And after that, it might be a slow decline. We'll see. We have made some powerful enemies after our last turn. Yes, we've even taken parts of Italy. We've taken parts of Germany last turn. We've taken a bulk of the Eastern Front, including Turkey, and well into the Middle East. But the Italians are on our doorstep in the Middle East. The Germans are also there with their Africa Corps. And we poked the last bear to poke, and that is the Italians here. And we've landed troops in Sicily and in southern Italy just to annoy the hell out of the Italians and forcing them to do something about it. Consequently, their Navy is over here guarding a very precious access point. The German Navy is also guarding a very precious access point into the Mediterranean. And look at all that raiding they did this turn. So yeah, crazy times right now. The Italians have obviously moved down to try to gobble up Abyssinia, but now their air force is down here. But up here in the north, the Russians attacked Greece, and therefore the British have now convinced the Greeks to come on side with them. And now the Greeks / Britain is now activated down here, causing more issues for the Italians. And look what right next door, Albania, which is also a victory point. So Thessaly and the Greek mountain corps will have a chance to actually fight the Italians, and maybe possibly even the Greeks if they so decide to, but that'll be between the British and the Greek consort. But there are American submarines raiding the Italian lines in here, and we'll see what happens with this whole conflict as it erupts over this turn, which is exciting. You know, everybody's got a hand in the pot. But the Italian 6th Corps, like I said before, heading south down here into Rhodesia, going after the South African gains, and the French are following close behind them. So we'll see what the British have in store for the defense there. They might even have to build a fighter, or possibly even a fortification, or something down there if they have much money this turn to help the defense, because it does have 3 infantry, artillery, motorized, and 1 medium armor. Actually it has a cavalry and 3 colonial troops. Looking at the wrong division there. In the Middle East, we do have this little issue. Russia had to divert air power from Leningrad and the Crimea down here into southern Iran. But we're up against 2 self-propelled artillery, the 21st Panzer Division down there. I think we have enough on a good defense if they do decide to attack, especially into mountains. And if we attack, we'd be into desert. So we'll see but then hopefully we've stopped their push down here. But of course, the Africa Corps is coming behind with more units, as well as the Italians there to reinforce those positions. We do have a Russian cavalry and airborne division cut off in Saudi Arabia, but also that's something the Italians might have to consider and or deal with. And in Manchuria, this is worth a victory point, guys. All 4 territories, Eastern, Western, Northern Manchuria, and Rihi, as part of Manchuria, is a very important part for Soviet expansion. And the CCP last turn helped with the Russians to take that territory. And also on top of that, still control Korea and keep the Japanese away from what I consider communist territory. But the CCP also moved south to Shantung. Now, the CCP, if they do liberate Nanking, that's a victory point for the Comintern. You know, probably the only victory point I'll get for the CCP, if anything. So that is a very important thing, and obviously the KMT knows that too. But there's a lot of stuff there defending that. Just like down here in Australia, it being encircled, there's a lot of stuff riding on the capture of Sydney for the Americans and also for the communists to take a victory point away from the Axis. One side note I'm just going to put here, you see the Shinano here? She's a heavy carrier. The Japanese got heavy ship construction. This counts as 2 capital ships. And right now, do a little bit of basic math. Musashi Yamato, 2 battleships, 2 aircraft carriers, the Akagi Kaga. Those are 4 capital ships. So currently right now on the map, they have 6 capital ships. The United States requires the Big Blue Fleet well, shouldn't require, but is going after the Big Blue Fleet victory point. And that is the Americans have to have double the capital ships or more than the Japanese. And if we do the math, we need 12. Well, right now we got 5 battleships here. We got the carrier Hornet, just off the Coast Coral Sea, and the Yorktown down here in the Southern Sea. Okay, so that's 7. Saratoga, Lexington, 8, 9. Illinois is 10. And we got one more capital ship over here, and that's the USS Enterprise right now. So, you know, they got 11 ships. And so they need to build a few more, which they haven't laid any more down, to get this point, providing the Japanese don't build any more ships. However, the Japanese have laid down the Shikishima. I'll say that better. And that is, you know, a heavy battleship, the A150 series for the Japanese. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens like that. I'm just going to start doing some more of these video points and going after victory points. And right now the Japanese also, Asia is for the Asians victory point, which means if they lose Burma, well, that's a link in their chain, and obviously they have to have Singapore and a few others. So this area is worth a victory point down in the south, as well as key points up here too. So they right now the Japanese only actually technically have 2 victory points, and that's Nanking and Asia for the Asians. They have Sydney as well, sorry, but it probably will be deleted once the Americans take it. But right now, holding Tokyo, they have 4 victory points, which is not bad since the Italians only have 1. And it's very hard currently right now for these two to be taken without a very neutered Russia or a very neutered United Kingdom, which is there, but the French are also occupying parts of Africa to avoid that. So obviously we've taken Lebensraum away from the Germans, and we've done that for our European defense. But yeah, they have the other victory points that they need. And there are ways to get the Axis down, but focusing on some of these victory cities might be important. And of course, Paris is still occupied by the Germans. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see and see what goes on overall. In the north, one more final note we should just go over. Here's a victory point, Helsinki. So obviously fortifying, taking care of that spot is important. The Germans don't have a navy right now. I shouldn't say they don't have a navy. They got lots of submarines, but they don't have any surface transports, and that's kind of a blessing at this point because it gives me a little bit of freedom to obviously build stuff and worry about certain areas. Obviously, there's no victory point really up here outside of Helsinki, but it's important to keep this territory, money, away from the Germans, but also, you know, to put a force and a presence up here so that the Germans and their mighty Luftwaffe, so busy on this map, I love it. The advanced mechanized, the Panzer Grenadiers, which are pink, all the planes that they got. Oh, it's crazy. Look at that. It's a busy Germany. And yes, Russia has a good contingent, I should say, of units, but we are still behind the 8 ball. And we're going to have to spend every part of our $99 that we got between the CCP and the Soviets to defend communism and our gains here. The Germans are going to probably want to take back these territories, Romania and Warsaw, which is part of 2 victory points. And obviously taking them away is an important thing too. Yeah, you know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. We're thankfully that we seized it as we did. Now we've controlled it for a second turn and hopefully a third, but we'll have to see what we can do to hold on as long as possible. And it's going to be a bloodbath over here, but that's what I'm excited about. Anyways, guys, just a brief tutorial of what things are going on, more so from a Russian point of view. And I know Sky Marshal Cup is coming up here in July. And some people are kind of curious about playing the Soviet sphere and knowing what the victory points are. And it's actually been a joy playing the Soviets this game. Not because I'm doing well or being on par, which is really what I feel I'm doing, is because, it's just learning the Soviets, which mostly I think a lot of people really do like to play the Axis because it's a little bit more fun, and the Allies, but the communists are their own fun. They are their own different beast. And they're one that'll stab you in the back whenever they get for their own benefits, just like they were in some cases in the Second World War. Anyways, guys, take care. Sky Marshall out. We'll see you again for another debriefing.